So UCLA started practice on Friday, November 7th kickoff. We've been hearing from Chip Kelly, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. What has stood out to you so far in these interviews?
I think the positivity coming from every single person in the organization has been great. You know, as most teams are wont to do, they like to seem positive. Even if things aren't going too well in practice, they want to come out to the media and seem positive. But it seems like there's a real, genuine positivity, not just from DTR, but from Chip Kelly, from the defensive players that we've interviewed. They seem like everything's going smoothly, even within a pandemic, even though they know they're not going to be playing with fans there, even though they know they're playing a shortened season, playing at Colorado week 1, Utah, Oregon, 2 consecutive Fridays. They all seem to be having a positive vibe around them. What's the biggest thing you've gotten, Sam, other than the positive vibe?
Well, beyond just the general positive vibe, which is understandable, these guys are finally back on the field with their teammates after months and months of kind of missing out on that. I think the one quote that has stood out to me so far these last 4 days was Dorian Thompson-Robinson Friday morning saying that Chip Kelly has kind of given him and the rest of the playmakers, the running backs, receivers, tight ends, the keys to the offense. And I know that's a topic that people have been talking about for 2 years, that either Chip Kelly's running a simplified offense or he's kind of waiting for his players to develop before they kind of have the improvisation that Kelly allowed at Oregon or even in Philadelphia with the Eagles. And I think it's really promising that it seems like we're going to get some of that. And maybe it's maybe just a little bit of lip service. Maybe it's not 100% in Dorian Thompson-Robinson's hands, but if he can run the offense smoother and faster and make better decisions pre-snap, then I think it's going to be really interesting to see what this offense morphs into with DTR at the helm, Chip Kelly calling plays on the sidelines, and even with Justin Fry going into his second year as offensive coordinator.
Yeah, not only did DTR talk about getting the keys to the offense, he also talked a lot about how he was viewed as a leader of this team, how a lot of the older guys on the team were viewed as the captains, as the guys that are going to push them through this. Because this is going to be a pretty young team across the board, but you've got guys like DTR that is entering his 3rd year, Demetric Felton coming into his 5th year as a redshirt senior. You know, you've got transfer in Brenton Brown. You've still got guys there. Now, unfortunately, some guys have transferred out or possibly going to be opting not to play this season. But with a lot of young guys coming in and a team maybe not really prepared, especially after not having the spring practice, after not having the summer that they wanted to, and kind of getting thrown back into it when the Pac-12 revealed their schedule, it's going to take a lot of leadership to pull them through. And DTR, for as much as I've criticized his quarterback abilities in the past, he does seem like he's really grown into that role, and he seems like he's ready to be a leader for this Bruins team.
Yeah, even looking past DTR, we talked to Osa Odighizuwa and Ty Manoa over the weekend. Lenny Teloa is back. Bo Calvert's here for his 3rd year. The guys we've talked to. There's a lot of, maybe we don't look at them as veterans just because of playing time, but in terms of being their 3rd, 4th, 5th year in college, there is a decent amount of experience on this team compared to what we've had the last 2 years. So it's interesting because the defensive line is primarily upperclassmen. The secondary is primarily upperclassmen. Receivers, running backs, a quarterback too with DTR 3rd year. You have a lot of experience, but it stood out to me where the inexperience is. And we haven't talked to anyone on the offensive line yet. I think that's going to be really interesting when we get to chat with those guys, if we ever get to talk. Justin Fry, who is the offensive coordinator, but also former O-line coach, and he works primarily with the O-line a lot of the time. So, I mean, you had 2 transfers leave, you had 2 starters, but then it's also Sean Ryan, your best offensive lineman's only a sophomore, which is good for the future, but who knows if he's the anchor on your left side and he's still relatively inexperienced. There are a lot of things up in the air, and I'm looking forward to seeing how these leaders, whether it's Tom Robinson or Felton, work with this offensive line to maybe kind of rush along their development a little bit.